We'll circle back and dovetail it with marketing. How about that?
Yeah. You're still listening. This is our final transmission.
We're here, Jamie. It's July. It's me, Sam Russo. It's Jamie Carruthers. It's the Final Transmission podcast. It's one horror movie a week from the dawn of time until the end of time. How are you, Jamie?
I am fantastic. We just had a riveting conversation about, once again, about sparkling water of a specific brand on the extended Patreon cut. And if you want to drop $5, that would not even get you 4 cans of full price this sparkling water. We are cheaper than 4 cans of sparkling water. How do you feel about that, Sam?
No comment, bud. At this point, I think it's probably better if people make their own minds up without me influencing them either way.
Yeah. So
did I say inflamunging? Because that's what I meant.
It's July, like you said. We've made it through the June rip-offs and cash-ins month.
If you're still with us after June, holy shit. I don't know what to say. Welcome and thanks.
So the theme that we picked for July, that I've picked for July, is films that are good.
It's funny, really, because I feel like that should be the baseline theme of every month, but somehow...
No, why would it?
Core conceit of the podcast doesn't seem to involve or have any bearing on quality.
If we only did good movies, we would be out of episodes very quickly. The horror genre...
There's a lot of good movies out there.
The horror genre is... I think there's more interesting things to talk about than just the good movies. But...
Oh, yeah, for sure. Just be nice if they were good.
Yeah, it would. I think maybe focusing on a bad genre and making a whole month around it maybe isn't the way to go in future.
No, I think we should double down. This month should just be dolly movies.
Yeah.
Just dolls, dolls, dolls. Whoops, all dolls.
Well, it's not.
Given that I'm extremely hungry, having not eaten for quite a while, I feel like I'm method on this pod.
Yeah? You'd say that you are pretty hungry.
Yeah, I'd say I was very hungry.
Okay, well, I don't know any more synonyms for that. So let's just talk about this week's movie, rather. It is Ravenous. It's about a sphincter in the Berlin
German,
club scene.
Yep, knew it was going to be German. I would watch Ravenous.
Maybe I will program in Killer Condom into our future. That is a German film with lots of anal sex in it.
Oh, lucky everyone.
It's an allegory about the AIDS epidemic in the 80s in the sort of
Just gets better.
Berlin gay scene. But not that. We're talking about Ravenous from 1999, directed by Antonia Bird, starring Rabbi Carlyle. I think that's what he likes to be known as.
Were you Rabbi?
Guy Pearce, your friend and not mine, but he's there, he's around. David Arquette.
Not your friend.
I mean, I don't know him.
Oh, yep, Jeremy Davies.
Jim Jeffries, what's his name? Jeffrey Jones.
Jeffrey Jones, noted
sex offender.
Guy from Ferris Bueller.
Yeah.
And sex offender.
Yeah, and they're all in this movie. Which
so's Neil McDonough with his face and his head.
Yeah, he looks like he should be in Ravenous, right? The German.
He's got Ravenous vibes, absolutely. Yep.
He looks like... Do you know, he looks like if Handsome Squidward from SpongeBob was...
A real boy.
No, who's that fucking actor? Udo Kier.
Oh, yeah. Good old Udo.
He looks like Handsome Squidward, Udo Kier. The end.
Good. He sure does. I mean, listen, on paper, what the fuck? What a cast. Holy mackerel.
It is a good cast. I mean, obviously, maybe Jeffrey Jones is persona non grata especially around yours, because all the kids playing outside. But, like, he certainly was an actor that was in things. And I think something that I've noted in the film Ravenous is that he plays a different character to every other character he's ever played.
He seems to have a good default gear for that Ferris Bueller-esque character.
Yeah.
But let's not forget, he's also in Sleepy Hollow and other period dramas where he basically plays this character, I guess. Maybe he's got 2 gears. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like he's versatile but typecast would be my best guess.
Yeah, versatile but limited, I would think. I would maybe go as far as to say. Like, he can do 2 or 3 things, and he's doing one of them here.
4 if you count taking pictures of naked 14-year-olds.
Let's get all of that out of the way now, so we never have to mention it ever again. Jeffrey Jones is a convicted sex offender for possessing child porn and maybe creating. I'm going to let me rephrase that because this goes on YouTube and stuff, and they might just.
I've got a better way to deal with it.
All right, go on.
Let's skip it completely.
Well, I think we have to address the elephant in the photographs. It's been a while since we've addressed an elephant, Sam. Maybe not since the burning.
Elephant 3 times recently, a golden age.
Yeah. Maybe we'll have to go back and re-edit in elephant addressing as more and more people become known as wrong-uns.
Yeah, it's a bit of a stampede right now. But let's talk about Jeffrey Jones in particular.
Yeah.
And get it out of the way.
So we're aware that he is a registered sex offender. The end.
And so are you.
Yeah.
Moving on. Those are the facts.
He is unlikely to have his image rehabilitated in the same way that Paul Rubens' Pee Wee Herman did.
I thought we were moving on. Paul Rubens wasn't a fucking paedophile.
So he got caught with what they thought was child porn in his possession.
Yeah, he didn't plead no contest to taking indecent pictures of underage boys.
I know. But he was, for a time, a registered sex offender as a result of that.
Right. Well, I think Jeffrey Jones isn't rehabbing his image because he's not a very good actor. And I don't know, he still acts. Hollywood's still hiring him.
Yeah, is he like, if I was him, I mean, he's not been in anything since Deadwood, the Deadwood TV movie in 2019. That's
still 9 years of acting after he was convicted.
Yeah, that's too recent, isn't it?
Maybe he was trying to rehab his image for those 9 years, and that's how far he got.
Yeah.
All the way to 2019. Quite impressive, I'm going to go with.
Did you see the new... Sorry, well, one last thing on Jeffrey Jones, and then we'll move on. Did you see the new Beetlejuice movie?
Yeah.
What they did to his character in that, because of obviously him being a huge wrong-un, was, I thought, very funny.
I don't remember a single second of the new Beetlejuice movie. What did they do to his character?
So they killed him by having a shark bite off his head. So anytime he appears in the movie, he's just a torso with a huge bite taken out of the top of his body.
Why didn't they do that Why didn't they do that to George McFly when they had to get rid of old Crispin?
I guess because they just thought they could get away with making someone else look like him, and then they got their asses sued.
They got sued hard. Yeah. Jeffrey Jones ain't suing nobody.
No. Okay, so Jeffrey Jones, done. We will mention him again, but we just don't have to mention that he is, as we've said, a registered sex offender and a convicted sex offender.
The double-double.
I had seen this before, Sam. You were wavering whether you had seen it before or not.
Yep, I'd definitely seen it before.
Okay, good. Or not good, I don't know. Okay, noted.
Noted. Being so factual today, how wonderful.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's good or bad that you've seen it before because I don't know your opinion on the film yet. I know that
Noted.
When I first said that we were going to be covering it, you thought it was a bad film.
Did I?
Yeah, well, you were like, oh no, I think we were talking about films that we were going to cover, and you said that there's not going to be a good film until X date when we cover a specific film, which is weeks and weeks in the future.
Right. Yeah. But I can see why you would think that. Yep.
But given that you had referenced the fact that you'd seen this, I thought that meant that you thought this was bad.
I saw this. I'm pretty sure I saw this the year it came out, rental style, because I remember as soon as I saw the cover, I was like, "Oh, garbage cover." I remember, and I think
it is a garbage
cover. Does it? Oh God, it does it less than no favors. If you could walk past this 100 times and never rent it, and you'd have to look closely at it to see that it's got a fantastic, albeit full-blown sausage fest of a cast.
Yeah.
Like just some top shelf names in '99, and some really good mix of actors in there that you would think, even just looking on paper, great chemistry, and a really interesting premise. So fucked itself with the artwork there big time. And I think I'm right in saying the marketing generally didn't exactly help it, right?
Yeah, I think it didn't do massively well on release. It has garnered, I would say, maybe a cult following.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately it's a film that people don't really talk about or engage with that much.
No. Would you call it an English film? We got an English director. We got some Brits in the cast.
I think it is an English film. I think it's an English film about America. I think it's very much about America rather than like just being set in America or whatever.
Right.
Obviously the bulk of, well, not the bulk of the cast, but like your two main leads are not American. Your director's not American. No. Obviously Guy Pearce is
Guy Pearce Australian?
He is Australian, yeah. He was on Neighbours
okay.
or Home and Away. One of those two.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Jeremy Davies is not from planet Earth, so he doesn't count.
I love Jeremy Davies.
Me too. We're Davies heads.
Yeah. I think that Faraday is my favourite character in Lost.
Amazing. I mean, he's a phenomenal actor. He's straight up excellent at everything he does. And I just don't think he gets the roles that we want to see him in necessarily, but I love him to bits.
I remember years wanting him to play Charlie Manson in something, and then he did, and it was shit.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
Ever since I first saw him, I was like, this guy obviously should just play Charlie Manson in something, and then he did, and it just wasn't good.
Yeah, would you say Upham in Saving Private Ryan is like his definitive role? Is that the thing people know him for most?
I think he's probably most well known for Lost.
Right, yeah, that would make sense.
Because he was in it for a bunch, and
yeah,
he is a very memorable character. I think in a film like Saving Private Ryan, you can get lost in the shuffle a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Another massive monster ensemble cast.
Yeah.
More so even than Ravenous. I don't know why I made that comparison.
No, they're the same. They're exactly the same.
Yeah. Yeah, I can completely see that connective tissue. I mean, he's just wonderful. He's such fun, and he's so tender. And I do think he's got, not badly typecast, maybe typecast with reason. He could have had a Crispin Glover career. He's a lovable oddball. I put him in the same category that I put John Hawkes in. Yeah, John Hawkes, Das Malchian, all those guys who are kind of wiry and versatile because of that, I think. Actually, John Hawkes is probably one of the most versatile actors on Earth. I don't think I can put Jeremy Davies quite there. I
think in the category of like films that I think of when I think of that actor, it's like those sort of mirthful smirk indie movies.
Yeah, there's a bit of that.
Which is like where Scoot McNairy should be, but he's somehow broken out of it into the mainstream, which I'm very happy about because we love Scoot McNairy. But I would also put him in that same, or he looks like he should be in that world.
Yeah, for sure. There's a look, then there's a kind of a palette of affectations, then there's a small segment of roles that they execute incredibly well, and all of that puts you into a pretty wonderful but probably quite frustrating Hollywood hinterland where you don't necessarily, break out into the things that you want, but where you have, people like us on podcasts frothing over everything you touch.
Yeah.
The punk bands of the Hollywood C-list.
That is a good comparison.
That's probably why we love him. Yeah. So, I vividly remember watching this movie rental style DVD on the old tiny combo DVD player TV.
Nice.
In a small room at my parents' house and having thoughts and feelings, which is important. A visceral response to a movie.
It is important to have thoughts and feelings.
Well, a lot of those just passed me by. We rented so much crap on DVD that just didn't elicit any kind of response, really.
I think it's bold that you even rented it based on the cover, because I don't think I would have.
Well, I'm remembering there was 3 places we used to rent movies. One was Choices, one was TVL All Star Video, and sometimes we would go out to see another one of my buddies in a village outside of the town where we lived, and there would be a Spar shop that had a little video rental rack, and sometimes we'd have watched, it wouldn't be refreshed for like 3 weeks, and we'd have watched everything on there, so we'd just get the last one, or the one that we hadn't watched. And at that point in 99, can I honestly say that I know all of these actors? Probably not. I wouldn't have recognized the name Jeffrey Jones, though I would have known him. David Arquette, when was Scream?
Scream was maybe a year or so before this.
So I know Arquette. I mean, I know Robert Carlyle at this point, definitely. And Guy Pearce, I think I only first saw in Memento. So I don't know. This wouldn't have leapt out at me, look at it that way. Wherever I rented it, it wasn't my number one choice. I was probably persuaded to watch it by somebody else. Bit of a loaded viewing sesh. What about you? What was your first viewing?
Just to talk a little bit more about David Arquette. So Scream, presumably when this was in production, Scream had only been out very recently. Obviously, he sort of rocketed to stardom and then made the round trip fairly quickly. But like, weird that he's booking this sort of a role off the back of Scream.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't even speculate as to what was happening there, really. Did he wasn't a child actor, was he?
I think maybe he was one of those guys that appeared as like the boyfriend on like Married with Children and stuff like that.
I've always liked him. I can't really knock the guy. He's had such a long career and he's done so much cool stuff. And he also does an absolute ton of complete garbage.
Yeah,
which I respect.
Just like he does Scream.
Work.
He does Scream in '96. He presumably signs on to do this in '97 or '98. It just seems insane. Like, not to get into my review too soon, but one of my main criticisms about this is that they just completely sort of waste him.
Absolutely, 100%. But I feel like they also kind of do that in Scream. And I don't think a lot of people walked away from Scream absolutely knocked out of their boots by David Arquette.
Yeah, well, obviously Scream and Scream 2 have happened by the time this movie comes out. So, like...
Oh, yeah, true.
He does have a bit more of a stuff to do in Scream 2.
He must have tested well based on that, right? And audiences there must be a lot of, like, really strong audience reaction to Dewey to bring him back in 2. Because they could have just fucking binned him immediately.
Yeah, or, like, have him be the opening kill or whatever.
First death, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, potentially also Scream 3 comes out not long after this, so maybe he was just only there in a diminished capacity, and I don't know. We're speculating because we don't know the answer, and that's fine. That's the podcast, right? But
it's the premise of the entire podcast. We know nothing, we're guessing. Yeah, at the time I was watching this, I wasn't what I would call like a die-hard David Arquette fan.
Yeah.
I just... I knew what I liked, and it was him in Scream. I think Robert Carlyle I struggled with because I find his portrayal of Begbie to be so upsetting in Trainspotting, and I watched it at such a impressionable time in my life. I think I probably steered clear of him. For real. That performance was so scarring to me as a young viewer. I think I put him and the character in the same place in my brain and swerved every movie he was in. I know I saw the full Monty. I know I saw him on some English TV, or British TV, should I say, but I was not in any way seeking his movies. Look at it that way. What about you?
he is a terrifying individual.
Yeah.
And like it's funny because like he's such a fucking lovey, like in real life.
God, yeah, and he's so handsome. Like, as an adult, I can reflect and say he is one of the most charismatic, powerful, versatile British actors of like I can't say our generation, but like our like viewing movies generation.
Yeah.
Phenomenally good looking and just an absolute pleasure to see on screen in so many different kinds of roles. But he shit me up so bad when I was a kid, I couldn't go near him.
Yeah, I think maybe I was terrified of him until I saw the 51st State.
Right.
And then he became kind of goofy.
Well, I think I trusted him after the Full Monty a little bit more, potentially, but not fully.
I hated the Full Monty.
Oh, did you? I quite liked it.
I mean, I don't hate it now. I think, like, maybe I thought it was gay to look at men trying to make a living in Sheffield or something.
That's definitely the part of it that you thought was gay.
Yeah.
Oh, these guys from Sheffield trying to make money, gay. I think there's a lot to be said for the Full Monty. Now is probably not the time, but for me, I've got warm memories of it for all of the reasons you just described, but also because it was like kind of a risque movie that I could watch with my family. Yeah. I mean, what am I? I'm fucking 12 when that came out. Do you know what I mean? It felt kind of grown up, and it had themes that were kind of grown up. So, yeah, I don't know. I just he really made me feel so uncomfortable. He's such a real character that I'd encountered in real life and that I desperately wanted to avoid at all costs as an adult. I just binned him.
The moment where Begbie throws the glass over his shoulder in Trainspotting, I think about that every time I'm in a pub with a mezzanine. Like,
Yeah.
it's one of those things.
I think about it. Yep, every pub with a mezzanine, and every time you're given an old school English pub ale glass.
Yeah.
Or whatever, British. I'm going to fucking piss so many people off here. British pub ale glass. Because I immediately want to hurl it over my shoulder and disfigure a woman for life. That's what that film has done to me.
Yeah. Well, so the question you asked me was, had I seen it before? And or
When?
I don't know, like ages ago. And so I had seen it before. I think I watched it early 2000s-ish time. And I think I had basically forgotten everything about it.
Right.
But I had it on DVD at some point. I don't have it on DVD now for some reason.
Hmm.
But there was a period of time where I was buying like job lots of like horror DVDs from eBay. People just
Greasy suitcases full of movies.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was in one of those, and that's how I watched it, because I don't think I would ever look at that cover and be like, yes, that's a movie that I want to watch.
I mean, I don't know if there's an audience that would. It's such a weird move. It's almost like papyrus font on this gross red mouth with strange, like barely perceivable faces around the outside. Bad.
Yeah.
I mean, other countries got slightly better versions, but ours was awful. I hope I'm not being hyperbolic here. I think you doomed the movie because it was never going to be a cinema smash, was it? It was always going to be a rental Raz. So make it irresistible to teens.
Yeah. I think
not
like
the polar opposite.
The marketing around this, and like this cover specifically, I think it sits in that sort of House on Haunted Hill 13 Ghosts type marketing, whereas but those are trading on quite big casts
and worse. This is just giving you nothing. At least House on Haunted Hill and all that bullshit has like something that looks like crap, but is at least an idea.
Yeah,
like has something to suck your eye in and make you go, ugh. I mean, fine.
This looks like it was made in very crude CG or something. Computer graphics.
Yeah, it looks like CG made in like the wrong program for the medium that it's being displayed in by a first year uni student, which it probably was, if we're totally honest.
Yeah.
And that was a big fuck up. So that probably limited the audience. I think I read that the marketing campaign broadly was crap as well, because it was so heavily marketed as being a splattery, incredibly gory, Cannibal Holocaust-esque movie. Which it ain't.
Why don't we do a synopsis? I'll do a synopsis, Sam. I won't put you in the hot seat this week.
Oh, thanks.
And then we'll start talking about what we actually thought about the film. Maybe tie
I was
that.
grateful for your synopsises.
Maybe we'll tie it back into the marketing as well when we're talking
Let's
about.
dovetail it.
Yeah.
Dovetail it with marketing, Jamie. We'll circle back and dovetail it with marketing. How about that?
Yeah. So we meet Boyd, Guy Pearce, and he is fighting in the Mexican-American War. He is he has some sort of PTSD back from that war after somehow finding the strength of character to kill an entire battalion. What's the word that you would call a gang? Squadron. There you go.
Don't know.
Squadron of Mexican banditos. And
sorry, why are you grinning when you say banditos?
I don't know. It's a fun thing to say. It's a fun word.
It is really fun. Isn't all Spanish fun?
Yeah. Oh, you've made me lose my train of thought now. Have to wait for the next one. Yeah, a weird thing happens while he's hiding in this sort of mess of bodies, and it gives him the strength to kill this entire squadron of banditos.
Gotta be done.
But he's labelled a coward on his return, and he's forced to go and take up with a new group of soldiers led by Jeffrey Jones. And one day, their place where soldiers live, like barracks, I guess. Is it barracks?
Yeah. Excellent military knowledge coming through here, Jay.
Yeah. Their like barracks or whatever is
digs, bivvies.
Yeah, so Colhoun shows up and is dying. He says that his squadron leader has gone insane and killed all of his squadron.
Mm-hmm.
And so they gather up the troops that are there and they go to see if they can try and rescue any remnants of Colhoun's squadron and locate the evil, murderous Captain Ives, and things get progressively screwier from there.
They sure do. It's
That's
worth
my
noting.
synopsis.
we're kind of in the Western Sierras for most of the movie, which is kind of important to the plot and gives us a hell of a backdrop for a movie. Holy cow.
It's a shame that it doesn't look amazing.
I think it looks really cool.
Yeah, well, I think like the backdrop looks cool. It's sort of like when we talked about Dog Soldiers, and like it looks good by virtue of it being a beautiful landscape. It's never shot in that amazing Terrence Malick way, which would make it look incredible.
Sure. This might be bananas. It could be completely wrong, but I think it was shot in Slovakia.
Yeah, I think
Can that be true?
that could be true.
So listen, shot in a beautiful place, in several beautiful places, with a very beautiful cast, by a beautiful woman. Let's just go for it. Antonia Bird, R.I.P.
Yeah.
Well, what can you say about Bird?
We could say everything we want to say after this short break, Sam.
All right, be right back, bud.
Whoa, holy shit. I guess that's why they call it Phantom Power.
I'm back, Antonia Bird.
I'm back too, Robert Carlyle.
She did some Cracker.
She did.
I bet you love Cracker.
I don't love Cracker, but I like Cracker. I
I thought you'd
prefer
been a big crackhead.
I prefer crackers.
Crackers are good. What's your favorite cracker? What's your go-to? I'm gonna say you probably like a Tuck.
I do like a Tuck. I like a Ritz. I like a Ritz quite a lot because I could just eat them as they are.
Classy Bird. Yeah.
But I also I'm a big fan of a water biscuit.
End-to-end stuff there. Ritz to water biscuit.
Yeah.
Holy crap. I mean, they could be our buddy cop alter egos, Ritz and water biscuit.
It's true.
Spoiler alert, I'm water biscuit.
Do you have a favorite cracker?
I will go for any brand salt and pepper cracker.
Nice. The worst
I
cracker
do love-
is the one that's basically a digestive without any sweetness to it.
Oh, I don't love those.
Yeah, that's the
There's
worst.
normally a few of them left. Yeah. So the thing I loved doing until I found out just how bad for me it was is just putting peanut butter between two Ritz crackers
cheeks.
and putting peanut butter between my butt cheeks and then having people lick it out. I found out that was bad for me.
Yeah. It was
I got so
blocking the
used to it.
sunlight.
Exactly. Stopping the sun from deeply penetrating my rectum and anus.
What a callback.
Yeah, no, I used to just fucking smear the peanut butter between those two fuckers. And then I'd look down and I'd be like, oh, you've eaten a whole packet of crackers. You're going to die.
Yeah.
So I had to stop that behavior immediately.
Anyway, right, Ravenous.
See, this is how easily distracted we are today. The word cracker made us talk about crackers for 20 minutes. Much respect to Antonia Bird. Great career.
Yeah, so she wasn't originally going to direct this.
No, it was originally going to be you.
That's not true.
Oh, okay.
Because in 1998, when this was in production, I was 14 years old.
You could have directed this movie at 14. Also, I don't know why I said she had a great career. It was shite. It's just full of bad not even full. It's a smattering of English television and this.
She made Face, a movie that has Robert Carlyle in it, and like a couple of other movies.
Yeah, they only let her direct 1 or 2 episodes of everything she directed, except EastEnders, which she directed 18 of. And everything on this list is shithouse.
Yeah, so anyway, it was originally due to be directed by another director who has made some good stuff. Did you like Dust? That came out in 2001.
I've never seen Dust.
All right. Well, basically, he got fired, and then Raja Gosnell was going to direct it, who directed the
Ryan Gosling.
the second Scooby-Doo movie, I want to say. Maybe the first Scooby-Doo movie. And then they didn't end up doing it, and then it was given to Antonia Bird, which I think is the best choice because I don't think... Here we go. I'm going to give you my thoughts now. I think this is a really good movie.
Yeah.
And
I thought you'd say that, yeah.
And I think it has some interesting things to say about America and the more general sort of culture of America and the beginnings of America and all of that stuff. And I think like it feels like an outsider's view of America. And I think if we'd have had these other directors, it maybe wouldn't have felt like that, even though none of them were American. I don't think the person who made Scooby-Doo is making an interesting comment about, American culture.
I mean, from the, I guess thinking the tools that the director has at their disposal to really manipulate the material. Do you know what I mean? Beyond the screenplay, beyond the actors, beyond all of that, it feels like she has added quite a significant element of social commentary there, just by virtue of being an English director with something to say about America.
Yeah.
Largely undocumented. I haven't been able to find an enormous amount about it. And I don't think I would have known that as a younger viewer. I don't think I would have seen that necessarily because I'm looking at American culture through English eyes. And I'm feeling very, very similar things to what she's putting across in the subtext of this movie. So I think watching it again as an adult, it's a little bit more clear to me that this is an English movie, basically.
I think it feels very
interesting
English.
Experience. Yeah, in that it's quite cheap and not very well made.
Yeah.
But the bones are there.
They are in the soup. We'll say now that we're going to get into spoilers just in case anyone has got to this point and hasn't switched off already.
Yeah.
But we're going to get into spoilers from now on. So,
Cannibals.
My favorite
That's the spoiler.
soup.
A lot of goblin going on in this movie, and I ain't talking about the band.
Yeah.
This sits so nicely next to Bone Tomahawk.
Yeah, it's almost like a funny. It's more like funny Bone Tomahawk.
Proto-bone, if you will.
Yeah.
It's the pre-nog of the Western horror universe.
I think. I mean, I don't know about that, but I think like it's almost like if you wanted to, if you really wanted to watch, you're like, oh, I've watched Bone Tomahawk. I really want to watch another film about cowboys or westerns that involves cannibalism, but I want it to be kind of light.
Yeah.
Then
have
we got a movie for you?
Yeah, you could have got full marks just by saying, I've watched Bone Tomahawk, I want to watch another Western with cannibalism. This would be near the top of the list. And if you also wanted jaunty music, a weird English director, and an absolute knockout cast doing a fucking 6 out of 10 job, then we've got a movie for you, bud.
Yeah. Another film that would be quite close to the top would be Cannibal the Musical.
Yeah, but you would have to really want a musical.
I love Cannibal the Musical.
And you've got this thing where you can pretty much always watch a musical, right? I need about 9 months notice if I'm going to watch a musical.
Yeah,
I need to prep.
I like a musical.
Yeah. I don't dislike them. I just need to know they're coming at me. I can't have a musical just dropped on me on a wet Wednesday. I need to know.
Okay, so the first thing that I wrote down in my notes here, Sam, is that the opening quote suggests that the film is going to be funnier than it is. How do you feel about that?
It's a bit of a Lawrence Arms album, isn't it? It's setting out its stall early. I think you sort of know it's going to be ostensibly a serious film, but I think what that opening sequence does is tell you not to take it too seriously from the get-go, which I think is a pretty adroit little move on the audience.
I don't know. I think the "Eat Me" quote is just a little bit too broad.
How do you mean?
Just like the comedy of that is just a little bit too broad for me. It's a little bit too on the nose, like this is a funny joke. Eat me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
I hear you. So, it's a bold opening crawl.
Yeah.
I mean, all of the credits are bonkers. I really enjoyed the credits.
It's just like...
and they're on the right side of shit.
Yeah.
Noughties-esque junk credits. The right side for me.
It's just like the juxtaposing the Nietzsche quote, where they've also spelled Nietzsche wrong, but they're juxtaposing the Nietzsche quote with another quote that's just "Eat me." Like,
yeah, it's
just a bit goofy, I think.
Sure.
It sort of suggests, I think, a more broadly comic movie, which this isn't. I mean, it is funny in almost in that sort of mirthful smirk kind of way. Like, I know something about this is funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just expecting it to be funnier as a result. It obviously is inspired by the Alfred Packer story and also the Donna Party story, which obviously Alfred Packer is the guy in Cannibal the Musical.
Yep.
Which I think is interesting. It sort of mixes those two things together and makes something new out of it.
Yeah, I mean, all of this sort of loosely historically based horror comedy, musical cannibalism stuff comes from, a sort of central tale and lots of periphery folklore, I guess. And you're sort of picking and choosing what you want to lean into, what you want to leave out. I think that's the whole point of this kind of narrative, is that the director and writer get to shape a new telling of an old fable / universe and bring in new elements and make it as fucking stupid as they want.
Yeah. I think Robert Carlyle is great in this, by the way.
I totally agree.
I
Steals
think
it.
He's just having the best time.
Yeah, I really think he's stretching his legs in this. It is a role that gives him a bit of range. He gets to pull a bit of a MacGuffin, do some surprises.
He gets to be 2 characters as well, basically.
Yeah. Maybe even close to 3, I would say. And a lot of really key members of this cast die pretty early in the movie, leaving him and Guy Pearce to do a lot of the heavy lifting. And he does not for a second waver under that weight. I think every scene he's in executed flawlessly.
Which of his, if we say there are 2 characters, obviously there's a sort of a third character that kind of emerges, but like if we say Ives is one guy and Calhoun is another guy, like which performance do you prefer?
Calhoun.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I like the Ives character, and I totally understand why he's there, what he's doing, everything about it. I don't get as much joy out of reserved, evil Robert Carlyle, where the hint of menace is supposed to have more gravitas than kind of crazy behavior. Because I think he's got such scope for just absolutely unbridled wackaloonery that I want to see. You know,
I completely agree. I think like there's a moment fairly early on when he's telling the story of what happened about Captain Ives going insane and killing everybody, and like you know that it's bullshit. Yeah, but like he's so convincing. I mean, you suspect.
I don't know if I know it's bullshit. Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't licked the guy yet, so.
Yeah, I think the point where we get to see him reacting to Toffler accusing him of licking his open wound in a tent, just being handed that as a script item, and right, okay, so here's what's gonna happen. You're going to secretly get down there and lick his wound. He's going to bust you and start screaming. And you're going to have to react as this character, having been busted with blood on your lips. And your excuse is you were having a dream and you licked his leg. Like, what the fuck? It's such a cool scene. It's so well acted. And he's fucking hilarious in that moment. Yeah. It's the funniest moment in the film for me.
I think, like, Jeremy Davis screaming, "He was licking me," is worth the price of admission alone. Like, it's that.
Yeah, and watching him escalate in that scene is great as well. 'Cause he doesn't often go quite that loud, does he? It's great to see him really take it up a notch.
Yeah, and like if the rest of the movie was like Dolly Dearest, you'd still be like 4 out of 10 because
you'd still be in. Yeah,
because it's so good.
And that's why I was really worried when we lose a good chunk of this cast and we are left with Guy Pearce's kind of trembling, cowardly, mentally scarred, not exactly like rock solid central performance. I can't knock Guy Pearce in a lot that I've seen. I do think he's good in this.
He's good, but he's
Carlyle,
he's in a different movie.
Yeah, a little bit maybe. Yeah,
like he doesn't maybe realize that this is quite as fun as it is.
I think that more than that, there's a slight distance to his performance that doesn't feel in keeping with the intimacy of the movie. The movie's tightly shot. It's all quite close.
Yeah.
The characters are always in close proximity or pursuing each other or hiding something. There's something very intimate about the dynamic of the movie, and he's a bit icier, a bit more steely, and understandably, but he does give some great hysterical moments. He does pull out the stops, and we see maybe like 70% of the Guy Pearce depth that we get to see in other movies. But I thought when it was just basically those two guys, when I thought it was basically those two guys left, I did think, ooh, how are they going to pull this off? They're just going to chase each other through the woods for an hour and 10? That seems a little bit ambitious. But no, the movie continues to twist and turn, continues to kind of reinvent itself and take you on tangents you didn't think you'd be going on, and does a good job of pulling off, like you said, what could be a slightly obvious switcheroo with aplomb and a good eye for, mischievous tomfoolery.
When he comes back as Ives, a big criticism about this movie for me is that nobody recognizes him. It really annoys me.
That is a bit inexcusable, I guess.
Because, like, they were all there. Everyone who's still alive was there.
Do they not recognize him?
No.
That detail passed me by.
So he, like, when Ives comes back and Boyd is like, this is him, this is the guy. And they get David Arquette.
Oh, I thought they were in on it. Weird.
Maybe they are.
I thought that was the thing. I thought the whole thing was like, everyone's against you now, Guy Pearce.
But, like, why would they be? It's the doctor, isn't it? It's Lindis that doesn't recognize him because he's like a drunk.
Oh, yeah, he's battered.
Yeah, neither of those guys recognize him, and he's very clearly the same guy. And just as, like, maybe, because obviously we do find out later that he has recruited at least Jeffrey Jones.
Mm.
There's the big spoiler. So maybe he has recruited these other people somehow.
Mm. I quite like the Wendigo angle, and I quite like the big plan to just eat lots of people who are traveling across the Sierras. I just think it's really simple and really cool.
Yeah. I think, like,
the
idea that, like, eating flesh and drinking blood gives you special healing powers is cool, and maybe what keeps this film being quite fresh, because it's, like, basically, like, obviously this came out before Bone Tomahawk, but we've seen other, like, Western horror, so, like, and we've seen a lot of cannibal movies, so it's like it changes it from being a cannibal movie, but then the cannibal stuff changes it from being like a monster movie, so, like, it kind of all rolls together quite nicely.
Mm.
And
it's a really simple premise to build a movie on as well.
Yeah.
Like, what's your character's central motivation? He had TB, ate some flesh, and got better, and now he feels absolutely banging when he eats men. Like,
yeah,
he wants to stay feeling good. He wants to feel good. Here's to feeling good all the time. And to do that, he's going to just absolutely devour with ravenous hunger every traveler who comes through his camp.
Yeah.
Wallop. We're hunting humans. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah.
It's great. It's so simple and it works.
Can I point out something that I noticed in this that I had never noticed in any other movie before?
Yeah.
How much does David Arquette look like Eli Wallach in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly? Like, it's insane.
Enough. Yeah, definitely enough. And I find a lot of people cast in Western movies, you start to see other actors who they look like, who've been in Western movies, way easier.
Yeah.
As soon as you dress him up like a cowboy, you're like, holy fuck, he looks exactly like that other guy.
Yeah.
Something about the Western garb.
Like,
the
he
ultimate.
looks so much like Tuco, but, like, specifically, like, the character Tuco.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, there's something there for sure. I like the costume work in this. I paid quite close attention to it, and I think, it may or may not be even remotely period accurate, but it's cool. They're dressed really well. There's a bit where Robert Carlyle's wearing, like, fucking driving goggles. Like, it's just a really interesting choice.
Yeah, I think when Robert Carlyle comes back as Ives, I think he looks amazing.
It looks dashing.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's charming in this. I mean, he's got quite aquiline features, and he's quite a small of stature man.
Yeah, he's sort of like
There's
a really
something
handsome ferret.
big. Yeah. He's like a little Scottish Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
But because of that in this, I think it adds to the menace, it adds to the realism. He just brings an energy much bigger than his human male form, as always. And as a result, we all shit our pants a little bit whenever he's around.
Yeah, so I think Guy Pearce is too handsome to be a cowboy.
I don't think fuck me. Point taken. I don't think I agree. I think Neil McDonough is too Neil McDonough to be a cowboy.
Yeah, agreed.
He can only be like a Starship Trooper,
Yeah.
or King of the Nazis or something. Like he's just so wonderfully weird looking. It's super hard to get past what he looks like in almost any role that involves real life.
He has a face for, like, space fantasy.
He has a face for space.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. He's such a unique proposition as an actor. Yeah, don't know how I feel about him in this, really. He's good in everything. His intensity is always welcome, he's not fucking it up here. But he's bringing something that feels, as always, icy and alien.
I completely agree with that. But I do think that Guy Pearce is too good looking to be a cowboy.
It's weird. I don't know why you'd necessarily say that.
He looks anachronistic. Like, when you have, like, think about other Australians in, like, these sort of fairly quintessential American roles, like, I don't know, Mel Gibson in The Patriot or whatever. Like, they don't look too out of place, but I think he looks, I think he doesn't look American to me as well. He looks like a handsome Australian man.
once you know he's Australian, it's hard not to know it.
Yeah.
Same with Mel Gibson when you watch Lethal Weapon 3, and inexplicably he's just slipping in and out of an Australian accent despite having not even done it once in Lethal Weapon 1 or 2.
He does it a bit in Lethal Weapon 1, but...
Does he? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just think Guy Pearce for me is such an attractive proposition, and he just slots into so many roles so convincingly. I guess I hadn't analysed it very much because... All right, so the things that leap out at me as being unrealistic is when you have these obvious superstar, mega buff, gorgeous dude Hollywood hunks in a main role where they're supposed to be undesirable to society in some way. Like the first one that pops into my head would be Matthew McConaughey in Mud, or Matthew McConaughey in basically anything. Like he's so arresting and so difficult not to look at. How is he living next to a ditch pining after Reese Witherspoon? No, probably not.
I think that Matthew McConaughey is interesting looking enough that he can
pull that end of the spectrum off.
Yeah, whereas I think that Guy Pearce kind of just looks like a handsome man.
I think Guy Pearce is not reaching those levels of handsome for my taste where he's unbelievable. But the one that absolutely bowled me over flat on my dick the other night is I watched Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. Have you seen this movie?
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to believe in that film that Philip Seymour Hoffman doesn't want to fuck his wife, Marissa Tomei, because she's not hot enough.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What happened? It's so unbelievable that she's even in that film. So she's, spoiler for Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, she's banging both Philip Seymour Hoffman, her husband, and Ethan Hawke, his brother. And something about that just screams, you have better prospects out there.
Yeah.
She ruins the movie by being way too beautiful to be involved with anyone in the film.
I think Ethan Hawke is
too much.
Is a good-looking guy, but sure.
Sure, but he's not Marissa Tomei level good looking. He's Ethan Hawke. You could walk past on the street and be like, "Who's that jerky weasel?" Like it's not. It's not a given.
Well, like I think you could also do that with Guy Pearce, but I think like there's just something really modern about his face.
He's just got those incredibly straight white gnashers that makes it hard to put him in the American West, for sure. Like all of these Hollywood guys with perfectly straight, glowing white teeth are difficult to westernize.
I think like Robert Carlyle, he's almost acting like his teeth aren't perfectly straight. Do you know what I mean? Where, like you almost believe that his teeth aren't straight in your memory because he acts as like a ratty little Western guy so well.
He's got being Scottish on his side.
Yeah.
That's
so
immediately
worried.
bringing you down to earth.
I was so worried that he was going to be doing an American accent.
So was I.
I cannot take him doing an American accent. I hate it.
Because you lose so much. His natural accent is so perfect for the human it inhabits. Like that's what he should basically always do. He sounds amazing. His voice is wonderful. And to take a big old dump all over that for no reason would have been a crime that would have ruined the movie.
Has ruined many other movies.
Yeah, definitely. But he more so, like, it would also be terrible if Guy Pearce was Australian, let's be honest. It just wouldn't work for me. I don't like that.
Yeah, okay.
As an idea. And I love, Robert Carlyle has this earthy, natural sounding, Scottish accent that is 100% his own, and Guy Pearce is having to act American, which probably isn't that much of a stretch for him at this point in his career. But there's something that makes him grittier as a result.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, I could buy into that. I buy into
easy
that.
grit.
Yeah, true.
I think.
Would you say the grit is true?
I'd say he has true grit, if you will.
Yeah.
A good reference to the Western movie True Grit.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jamie.
Would you say that his chicken watch parts were on fire?
His chicken watch parts were on fire.
Yeah.
You have to help me out, bud.
Rooster Cogburn.
Cogburn. Terrible. That... Go to jail immediately, Jamie. That was bad.
Just going back to the Britishness of it all. Like it genuinely feels really British. I can't quite quantify it. Did you have any more inkling on like the quantification of why it feels like a British telling of an American story?
I think it has an aspect of English bewilderment at some of the very, very American tropes. That's really subtle, and I genuinely don't know if it's just because it's pretty low budge, but there is sort of a knowing, like almost like a look to camera, like this is really happening, like this is historically accurate, and there's a romanticism to it that I think is quintessentially English. The amount we romanticize America, the amount that we're prone to romanticizing the American West, or buying into the romanticization of the American West very willingly and eagerly, is definitely something that is sort of woven into the fabric of our national storytelling fabric.
Yeah, our special relationship.
Yeah, exactly. There's a touch of everything in this. It doesn't treat native people particularly well. It also doesn't completely dump all over them the way a Western made 20 years before would. It's at least an attempt at a sensitive rendering, and that feels a little bit English to me, more so than a lot of American movies were doing at the time. Feels like a sensibility that was growing in popularity in the UK. Hey, why don't we treat native people like humans? That would be a start. And why don't we portray them in movies as closely as we can get away with to being how maybe they really were in real life. Sorry, America, you weren't doing that very well.
This is what
and it took a Brit to come in and show you how.
This was a year after like Wind Talkers, right?
Yeah, right. It took the audacity of saying it took an English person to show you how to treat your indigenous people right.
Yeah, we've got a great track record of working with indigenous people to get along and cohabit in countries that we've enslaved and
that we've since
colonized
left.
And
yeah, a lot of people don't trust an immaculate record. I have an immaculate record. What's your favorite movie, Jamie?
Yeah,
it's The Departed.
I know.
So
I'm the guy that does his job. You must be the other guy.
There's a lot of winks in this. It's not to the point where it's being, it's not quite poking fun. It's not quite
I think
satirical.
Like kind of like with the Native American thing is that like that they are making a point of like not treating the Native American character badly, and they're also making a point of like the most American thing that you can do is literally eat the flesh and the soul and the power of the people around you in order for you to be stronger. Like,
yeah,
it's I think it is quite satirical in that way, is that it's like we see you, America, we understand what you're actually about.
Yeah, sort of saying, even though we've got a Scottish guy, running point, the new world is about consumption. It's about consuming regardless of the feelings of others, the situations it causes, the outcome, the repercussions, because you need to get as strong as you can, and therefore you must consume.
Yeah.
That is, I would say, in another movie, telegraphed. In this movie, just well played out, paced well, presented through really nice set pieces, and punctuated with humor that, while it isn't, Faulty Towers quintessentially English, does have a little bit of a bit of us on it.
Yeah, there's like, he was licking me. John Cleese could have delivered that line. Do you know what I mean? John Cleese could do that
but I
character.
really feel strongly
David
that...
Arquette could not do Basil Fawlty.
True. I feel really strongly that Robert Carlyle's reaction in that scene is a stretch for him. I think that's a really hard, I know I said it earlier, but it's a hard emotional reaction to pitch.
Yeah.
And I think he just fucking nails it. There's so much brought to this script and the comedic sensibility by Robert Carlyle that I think is great. And David Arquette's comedy is absolutely baseline moronic American junk the whole way through. I think maybe that's deliberate. I don't know. Jeffrey Jones is funny, by the way, in this, I think.
Yeah, he is. Refer back to earlier. The moment when Robert Carlyle's character is starting to break, when they go up to the to see his squadron is,
Yeah.
I think, some of the funniest and best. It's like the best comedy acting I've seen in a not a massive comedy film in like this era. It's so
In a movie that people don't talk about the comedy of
Yeah.
at all. Like, yeah, he does a really good job of giving you the willies, making you giggle, and also really genuinely building dramatic suspense and tension. It's magic.
he's building dramatic tension through being hilarious as well. Like it's
Yeah.
sort of takes the dramatic tension with it, because like obviously we're kind of laughing at him starting to let his mask drop and salivate over the idea of eating these other people.
Yeah.
And then like, but somehow that ratchets up the actual tension in that moment, because we're like, well, we know he's going to crack at any moment. When's it going to happen?
Yeah. I love when he starts digging. I think that's
Yeah.
really menacing. He acts so impervious to any kind of threat in a lot of those scenes. Like, he turns his back to the group and starts digging. And in any other sort of scenario, you can imagine someone would restrain him or kill him or bash him over the head or something. But he obviously projects so much unpredictability and freakish animalistic energy that nobody fucks with him. They let him dig up a knife and stab a guy like right in front of him. It's great.
The moment when he has the gun and he like tries
Yeah.
to shoot the gun and it doesn't fire, he just does a thing with his mouth, and it's like the greatest thing anyone's ever done in a movie. I don't even understand like how was that directed? Is that in the script? He just goes like, "Pah." And
Yeah.
it's like, it's so fucking good.
It's great. Yeah.
Like I
It
think
seems
just like
ad-lib, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It reeks of ad-lib.
just
It's
like
great.
the instinct of an actor to be able to do that and sell that insanity in that moment. Oh, it's just, I think like
He's got great
maybe a
gob
massively
acting.
underrated actor also. As like a
Yeah.
fairly well rated actor, I think he's still underrated.
He's not had a Stephen Graham career, has he? He's not
No.
been absolutely launched into the bosom of a public that adores him.
No, it's weird because like I think Stephen Graham is a great shout there. I think as a modern counterpart, that's kind of a similar thing, because obviously Stephen Graham cut his teeth on being terrifying and stuff as well. And
Yeah. Pure British menace is where these guys come from.
I tell you what,
Yeah.
I watched the most recent Venom movie like the other week
Ow, why do you do these things to yourself?
because I have to watch everything.
Self-flagellation. Why are you punishing yourself?
I
over?
actually quite liked it, but like I literally the same as when I watched the last one, which I don't remember anything about, but like a huge spit take when fucking Stephen Graham shows up and he's doing the worst American accent you've ever heard.
He shows up in fucking Venom.
Yeah, he's in Venom 2, he's like a cop, and then he's in Venom 3.
It's like a Simon Pegg thing.
It's worse. It's like it's Ray Winston in The Departed. It's that accent that he's doing.
Don't
It's-
even get me started. Unforgivable. Get fucked. Quick point on Robert Carlyle. What a gob actor.
Yeah.
He's always using his menacing mouth to just munch your marbles.
Yeah.
Like the cigarette in his mouth in Trainspotting, you can picture it in your head a million miles away. His like bloody grin in this, plus his weird little noise after the gun, all of that stuff. He the guy uses his gnashers and his flaps really well.
We get into a bit of a dry patch after Ives comes back, or he comes back as Ives, and there's lots of like menacing glances that are cool and good and like acted well, but like we're kind of in a little bit of we're on a travelator to the next thing happening.
It all goes a bit Downton Abbey for a hot minute.
Yeah, but like
Not that I've ever seen Downton Abbey. I just know they dress posh.
But the moment when he actually comes out to Boyd and is like, yeah, we both know what's going on here. That is crackerjack stuff. That is powerhouse performance.
Yeah. And great chemistry in that scene as well. I think they're both really into it together.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like,
yeah,
the stew, I would eat it. It looks amazing.
The stew looks dog rough. The stew looks awful. It's all like bulbous Nah, don't like the stew.
But you
The
don't eat
steak
meat.
at the beginning, no, but I fucking crave it constantly and absolutely love it. And when I see a good stew, even a good vegetarian stew, I do think that could look a lot better with a bit of meat in it.
Yeah.
For someone who hasn't eaten meat in something like 13 years, I do spend an awful amount of time thinking about it. If I see like a really good big fat German sausage, I just go to pieces. I become Robert Carlyle in this movie. I become ravenous. Yeah, the steak at the start of this was what looked good to me.
Yeah. I don't believe that they
That
had
looked
those steaks
delicious.
in the Mexican-American War.
I bet they fucking did, bud, because they ate a lot of buffalo.
Like, sure, but I don't think it's a war. I mean, I know that obviously we had rations in World War II and presumably in World War One. I don't know, but like, presumably you have to conserve meat if you're feeding an entire army every single day. You wouldn't give them fucking 40-ounce porterhouses every single day.
Wasn't it a special occasion when they celebrating? It was like officers only or some shit.
I mean, it was,
I believed
but
it.
like, yeah, fair enough.
It's quite funny that there's a big scene where everyone talks about how they don't eat meat in this film. It's a really fun little exchange.
Yeah. Here's a criticism about something. It's a tiny moment, but like, there's not much to criticize really. So, this did bug me. So there's a bit where Robert Carlyle and Guy Pearce are fighting, and Guy Pearce sort of wrestles himself away and like flails his arm back and kind of hits Robert Carlyle in the face, and Robert Carlyle really reacts to it and like falls back over like he's been hit really hard, which he couldn't have possibly been hit really hard from that angle, like flailing. Like, it's impossible to have the purchase to do that. But in order to sell the hit and Robert Carlyle's response, they put in like a really cheap bit of like chop socky, like Foley.
Yeah.
And it's so bad. It's like,
Yeah.
obviously we've not talked about the music. I'd like to ask you about the music in a minute. I have some mixed feelings about it, but like the Foley throughout most of the movie, the sound design throughout most of the movie is pretty great. It's just
It's pretty good. Yeah.
that one moment just like
That
ripped me out of the movie for like.
You gotta wonder if they're trying to be funny. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I normally am, and I wasn't, so that's how much it ripped me.
Also, surely at this point, he's insanely strong. We got people fucking cracking walnuts with their bare hands. You know, he should be like Hulk smashing that shit.
Yeah.
What a terrible movie. 1 out of 10.
So let's go back to, obviously I mentioned the music there. So the music is done by Damon Albarn and Michael Nyman, who I think is a score guy. He did the score for Gattaca, which was one of my favorite movies. I love Gattaca.
Do you like the music in Gattaca?
Yeah, but it's quite subtle until it isn't anymore. It's like someone listening to a John Williams score in like 2 apartments over.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's very sci-fi, but then it also is very distant and quiet. But I do love Gattaca. But anyway, the music. What did you think of the music? Because there were some times where I was like, "Is this right? Is this?"
No, it sucks. I've decided it sucks because it doesn't work all the way through, and you just need to be a little bit more deliberate. I think in that there's parts of this movie where you could use that jaunty nonsense, weird, whatever the fuck it is, but not all the way through, and not to the point where you just sort of exaggerate bits of it and pull bits of it back. It's a bit of a one-trick pony, and that doesn't do much for me.
Yeah, it's sort of like I basically agree. I think there's some bits of it that are great, and there are some bits of it that feel really anachronistic and weird, and like either do that all the way through or don't.
Yeah, get it right.
Yeah.
You've got a thing. You're trying to do a thing. There's a weird musical motif happening here. It's supposed to be, I guess, incongruous with the action at times, the setting and the time period, everything. So why aren't you placing it in parts of the movie where that makes sense and gives some kind of flow? Why does it feel random and jarring and at the same time boring? A bit of a failed experiment, maybe. I don't know. I don't like anything Damon Albarn does at all, really.
That's wild. I was a big
all.
Blur kid when I was
very
very
young.
young.
You were. You're a blurk. it's just not a, just doesn't, nah, he fucking sucks. But I totally get, like, in a vignette in this movie, if you just showed me one bit and you were like, what do you think of the music in this fucking cannibal western? I'd be like, oh, that's pretty cool. But there's just something about the repetitive and ham-fisted use of it that just doesn't quite land for me.
Yeah, no,
Sorry, Damon.
I get exactly what you mean. There are people out there that love the soundtrack, love the score.
That's fine. It's just not for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
It definitely doesn't fuck up my experience of the movie. It's not so bad that it's ruining scenes for me. I just think it has a lot of promise and it is a cool idea. It just feels half finished. It feels really rushed.
Yeah.
The ending, what do you think? The bear trap? I mean, the fight, we've discussed. The bear trap, we don't need to talk about that in detail. The pinning of them together and the whole final monologue about gobbling each other, what do you think?
I think the ending feels kind of satisfyingly unsatisfying.
Mm.
And that is probably the best you could hope for. Because, like, if there's a message of this movie, it's that, like, you know, ultimately this shit will happen until it stops happening.
Right.
So, like, I feel like it doesn't crescendo in a way that is, like, apart from the fact that, like, it has that, ooh, it's all going to happen again because the guy ate some of the fucking stew or whatever.
Yeah.
Which, you know, you have to put that at the end of a horror movie, otherwise it's not real. But, you know, like, I think the ending is fine. Like I say, it's sort of satisfying but unsatisfying, kind of like you've eaten a full meal but it isn't necessarily nourishing. It's McDonald's.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with the fact that it feels like the right ending, but it's not actually good. It ends the movie and you don't walk away feeling screwed over or like like something's been taken away from you, but also it's not exactly what you need, I don't think.
Yeah.
The effect isn't very good. It's probably part of it. It
Yeah.
looks like they could just stand up and walk away. There's no real pinning. There's no real strength to what I'm seeing in that bear trap moment, which is a bit weird. You'd think you'd really want to nail that, right, for the ending, but not so much. And it sort of trickles to that last scene, like you said. I don't think I need a massive crescendo. There's plenty of action in the movie. There's plenty of dilemmas and character development and growth and misdirection, etc., to sustain me. It does just sort of happen at the end, and I'm fine with that. Really, it's, you know, it deserves a great ending. It gets a good ending, I think.
Yeah, I think, like, it's the ending that the film needs, not the ending that you want.
Definitely. Yeah. It's a bit of a Stephen King ending.
Yeah. All right. Well, why don't we, before we go to break, Sam, I'm going to say right now that this podcast is brought to you by Red Scare Industries.
I'm glad you said that. It is. If you enjoy music that leans toward the punk rock side of sound, you should go to redscare.net right now and treat yourself to some new stuff.
If you're into the Jeremy Davis of bands, then you'll find them all at redscare.net. All right, we'll be back after the break to give our final summations.
I thought you were going to say we'll be back after the break to give up.
We gave up hours ago, Sammy.
Come on, man. Does that thing even work? No. There's nothing out there. It's just dead air.
Oh, Sam, I'm back.
Jamie, I'm back.
Good.
Still hungry. I'd say that I'm rave anus at this point, let me tell you. For more rave anus banter, join our Patreon and you can hear us talk for a really uncomfortable amount of time about the non-existent movie that we would make called Rave Anus. At least I think that's what we talked about. I can't remember.
It was a German film about a disco butthole.
Disco butthole German. What more incentive do you need to spend a paltry $5 on hanging out with us at the start and the end of the podcast? Uncensored, unfiltered, unedited, triple X content from me and Jamie.
You get the start and the end, but you also get all the stuff that I cut out of the middle, which is always a lot.
Yeah, a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
Of bad things.
All right. I think it's kind of criminal that this film isn't talked about more. It's just really bloody good.
Good thing we're talking about it for 2 fucking hours to redress the balance then, eh? Who said that 2 cisgendered straight white males on a podcast aren't doing a service to the fucking arts, the culture?
It's true.
Eh?
Yeah.
We're doing the dirty work.
Yeah. tonally, it's all over the place. It's kind of a formless cloud of vibes.
I like that though. It's wacky.
Yeah, I really like it. It feels like a tumbleweed that's like going about its business, and we just get to see it for a bit.
It's like a bumbling drunk.
Yeah. It's like...
Always entertaining.
It's uneven. It's kind of formless in a way that is good and nice. The ending is kind of unsatisfying, but I think satisfying to what the message of the movie is and what the ongoing movie needs. I think the performances are uneven, but both great. I think they're both giving great performances in the individual movie that they are in.
Okay.
I think that Guy Pearce just doesn't have that gear yet. Maybe he finds it later, but he doesn't have that sort of like, oh, I understand that I am the straight man in this relationship, in this role. But in order to be a good straight man, you have to understand that you're playing against the sort of the quirky comedy character. And
yeah,
it's a specific kind of straight man role that you do as a result of that, rather than just be like, I am in a very serious drama about very serious things.
Very serious Wild West cannibalism.
Yeah.
Well, what's your Guy Pearce go-to? Where do you think Zenith Pierce lies?
Well, I mean, I don't think this is his peak, but I think his best role is LA Confidential.
He's superb in that.
He is. I mean, he's superb in Memento.
It's my favourite film of his by a mile. It's one of my favourite films ever. But he's so much fun in LA Confidential, isn't he? He's such a greasy little bastard.
Yeah, just like a smug little smart man.
He really gets the character dynamic there, doesn't he? Between him and Russell Crowe, they nail that chemistry. Not so much in this. Maybe Robert Carlyle is real hard to work with.
Yeah, maybe.
Who knows? Maybe that's why he hasn't had the career of a Stephen Graham. It's speculating.
It sort of almost makes me wonder that, like, in the scenes where they're not two shots, like,
is he alone?
Yeah, Guy Pearce is he even acting
is Guy
against
Pearce in Slovakia alone?
Is he acting against is he acting against a stand-in?
Yeah.
And vice versa, because they don't ever mesh together. Again, like, they're both giving good performances, and it kind of works for the movie, but it also just kind of is a thing. I think, like we've said, it feels like a British lens to look at America through, and to me, that is just an interesting approach to like a piece of like such like American folklore and like Americana around like these cowboy cannibals that were happening around this time in history, and that's just cool. And I think the movie feels cool as well. Like, it feels like almost even like that sort of Tarantino kind of like, this is cool. We're saying...
I don't get the cool, but I see why you might get that general vibe.
Yeah.
I don't really feel the cool.
Well, I think it has a coolness to it. Or, like I say, almost in that Tarantino way. I think the dialogue strays sometimes. There's some really good dialogue. And there's...
Yeah, it's almost slightly overwritten, I think. It could have had a less is more approach, which I think Bone Tomahawk nails.
Yeah. Like lines like, there's too much bourbon in his bourbon, or whatever. Like...
Great. Yeah. Commenting on how much ayahuasca they fucking love to do. Like, yeah, I really think Jeffries carries a lot of the comedy. He's given good lines, I think, for a reason. He's a comic pinball. Yeah, I agree on the writing side, I think.
Obviously, it's 1999, and a lot of films that were coming out, especially around this budget point of them, were trying to do, like, cheap Tarantino knockoffs. But, like, two criminals on the run in LA shit, like, all that stuff. And, like, some of it was good and some of it was bad. And I think this feels more like a Tarantino type movie than a lot of those do, because it's a little bit overwritten, because it's like it toes that sort of comedy drama line in quite a nice way. I do think there's some Tarantino at play in here, almost like they foresaw the kind of writer and director that he would become, like making The Hateful Eight and like those more sort of splattery, horror tinged movies that like he would make later.
Sure.
So that's, yeah. In terms of a score, I would give it 9 out of 12 licks.
Good licks.
Yeah,
You really got your licks in.
I got my licks in. Yeah.
9 out of 12.
Yeah.
Wow. Fair dues. That's high.
I think it's a way better movie. It's a good movie to watch, and it's also a good movie to think about. Like if you want to have more movie for your book, you can sit and think about it for hours, and you'll have interesting things to think to yourself.
It's a thinker, not a stinker.
Yeah, it's a chewer, not a pooer.
Pretty good. I agree. I do think it's a really good movie. I think it sits really nicely in its genre, which admittedly is a bit niche. Western, cannibal, semi-splattery, dark humor.
Yeah.
Whatever the fuck. Performances are just right, I think, for everything. If we're being realistic, the budget, the director, all of that stuff. And what it does well, in my opinion, is thoroughly entertain you from start to finish.
Yeah.
I think the dips are quite well timed and probably quite deliberate. You can't just have like rampant cannibal madness, over the top Robert Carlyle intensity at all times. You need breaks, you need gear shifts, you need a bit more depth and a bit of a slowdown. So I think it's actually pretty well constructed. I'm going to give it 6.8 raves in Uranus out of 10.
Okay. That's not a million miles away from my score, I think, adjusted for inflation.
Yeah, it's not one that I would revisit a bunch. It doesn't have the cinematic chops of your Bone Tomahawks, but it exists in a completely different universe for me. It's a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'm not going to say a lot more fun. I take that back. It's a different kind of fun.
Yeah.
And it's a different kind of movie essentially. So it's hard to compare it against other movies that have come since. And I just think it's a really fun, unique little nugget of silly goose good thinky time. There you go. There's words.
Nice. I think, in terms of like rewatch, it's maybe one that I would revisit every 3 or 4 years as opposed to like every year. Do you know what I mean?
Not an everydayer for you.
No. But do you know what you should do every day is check the Final Transmission social media feeds for...
You should. Every single day.
All of the content that comes out occasionally. And you can do that at FT Horror Show on your social media channel of choice.
Yeah, on your little device there.
Yeah. The one that
nice device.
The one that you've not put down throughout the entirety of this podcast.
I don't know, they might have.
Yeah, they might.
They might be cleaning.
Yeah? Do you put...
Might be driving a vehicle.
Do you put podcasts on to clean?
I normally listen to audiobooks when I clean, yeah.
I think I listen to music. Like I put an album on and I'll clean for the entirety of the album. That's my like my mode for cleaning.
Yeah.
I find podcasts are too engaged. I have to like listen to the words that people are saying.
Yeah, I like to listen to pretty much trash audiobooks while I clean. So that's not interesting at all. Listen, what a great episode. What a good movie. What a wonderful time.
Yeah.
July starts well.
Exactly.
Thank you for listening.
We'll be back next week with another film that I have deemed good. Will Sam also deem it good? There's only one way to find out.
Let some time pass and listen to the next episode.
Exactly.